Welcome to Mildly Fatigued with Adam and Kalub.
Howdy.
Howdy. Welcome, guys. We're currently... I don't know how you say this.
I'm chowing down and Caleb's
Rolling
preparing the doobie.
Okay, so that's what I was going to tell you. So you remember the show I told you, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s?
Mm-hmm.
They just put the 2000s on it, like this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm ready to fucking watch this shit. And, like, really, the first episode was, like, the highlights of television. And, it was just saying how, like, television changed or whatever. How it's evolved.
Is it in, like, movies or in the movie theaters or?
Oh, no, it's on Netflix.
Oh.
You can watch all of them. Watch it. If you're gonna watch it, I suggest starting from the 70s, because the 70s one is so good. Or didn't you watch the 70s or the 80s one?
Yeah, we watched, I think, all of them in the,
Oh, yeah, you should watch 2000s then.
I'm not sure if I watched the 90s, but...
Yeah, you should watch the 90s too, damn. The 90s one was intense. Yeah, but like in the intro there's Obama and shit like that. Like, I might be supporting Trump right now, but I'm still a big fan of Obama. Did you want to put in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have your grinder?
Alright.
Do you have your grinder in here?
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, you should watch that.
Want to do that next week?
The whole show?
The 20s?
2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, I guess. Oh, so tell me about your trip that you're going on this weekend. Or talk about it.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
You don't even fucking know.
I need to tell my mom that Walter's coming.
Fucking slacking. Well, you invited Walter the other day? He said yeah?
He has to come.
Oh. Is Hayden gonna go?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. That seems fun. And you're gonna see if you can get Stubby too? Right?
Hmm?
You're gonna see if you can get Stubby, or you're just gonna go to the medieval thing?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm not ready for Stubby yet. First, I need to make it so I can actually sleep in there without fucking burning up.
Oh, you get hot?
Yeah, I get hot and wake up.
Oh, like hella hot?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the vent. You need the vent.
Anyway. So yeah, we'll be going to the Renaissance Fair in Phoenix, and I'm bringing Hayden and Walter, and we're gonna stay there for 3 days. Actually, that's why we're recording the podcast today instead of Friday, because I'm not gonna be here Friday.
Talk about the first time you went. Talk about the first time you went.
For the Renaissance Fair?
Yeah. Just tell me what you're expecting, what happened. Make it interesting.
Well, the first time I went to the Renaissance Fair, I wasn't aware enough to know I was going to the Renaissance Fair. I just remember, like, being there and being like, oh, this is hella fucking cool.
Who'd you go with?
My family and my grandparents.
So your parents have been going to the Renaissance Fair for a while?
Yeah, It used to be like a yearly thing when we lived in Arizona, and then the one in Washington fucking sucked.
Oh, so you guys stopped going?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's so funny that you guys are like into that.
We went to. I remember the first time we went. It was like we walked around. I bought They bought me a shield and a sword. I think I still have the shield. You've probably seen it. That red one.
I probably have not. Remember.
It's wood.
The shield.
Yeah. I think I broke my fucking sword on someone at some point.
On someone?
Yeah.
How hard are you swinging?
I didn't give a fuck when I was a kid.
It's like, well, the dog died, so I can only swing pretty hard.
Have I told you about that time I fucking jousted a sword in some kid's glasses?
No.
This was back at the first house. We were walking around, or I was walking around bored, and I saw this guy doing something in his garage, and some kid I've never seen before, like, wandering around. And, he was kind of nerdy looking. And, I, like, walked up, I'm like, hey, wanna play? Da-da-da. And,
You really went out to someone? Like,
Yeah.
Elementary Adam school, Adam would do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't give a fuck. I would play by myself, so I keep going.
So I think we eventually, like, gravitated towards, like, the big fucking long sword thing. And his dad's like, be careful. And I shit you not, the first fucking thrust goes straight into his glasses. And he's on the ground crying. And, he, like, walks over, he does the angry dad routine. Go walk home and tell your parents what you did.
Yeah.
Because this guy has no fucking clue where I live.
Yeah, he doesn't know who the fuck you are. Yeah.
So I just went home. I didn't tell shit. And then anytime I saw anyone at that house, I fucking walked the other way.
Why, you're like, I just don't want to... Or what?
It was like a year in. I'm like, they're gonna tell on me if they see me.
Really? Oh, well, you're pretty young, so I can't hold that against you. Yeah, I think I've already told you this. That one of the first times I've ever driven an electric scooter. Did I tell you about that?
Mm.
So my neighbor down the street, I showed you where I used to live. He was like my best friend or whatever before, and his neighbor, he had an electric scooter. He's like, man, you can drive. I'm like, no, I don't know how to ride it. He's like, it's easy. It's like a regular scooter. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't know how to ride a regular scooter. And so I hop on, and I seriously could not tell you what I was thinking, because I started to go, right, and it was easy, and I just didn't stop or like just didn't turn or anything and went into the person's car who owned the scooter, you know, his family's car. And so there wasn't a big dent, but they made a huge thing about it. My parents, they're like, oh, we'll pay the insurance, blah, blah, blah. I must have been in elementary.
That's not even really your fault.
Yeah. I was peer pressured too.
When did you take off training wheels?
I'm trying to think. I remember it in elementary. I wasn't super young.
Mm.
It must have been, it was like before 5th grade. Because I remember by the time, like, before 4th grade. So like 3rd grade, 2nd grade probably.
It was... I know it was before 2nd grade. I think... Honestly, that whole time period, I have no fucking clue what the order of events is.
Sorry, do you have something to say?
Good.
I remember that when I used to ride my bike, because my dad, I never understood this either. My dad never started me off on a small bike. You know how there's children's bikes? Yeah, when I was a child, he just bought me a big bike. And then I had to learn on that. And then, like, people were like, why do you still have training wheels? That's what, now I remember. And I'm like, well, this bike's too fucking big for me. And then I remember that neighbor who had that electric scooter, years before I crashed into this car, I would try to ride his bike, and he had a smaller bike. And I told him, like, hey, can I try to ride your bike? Because it's small. And I could ride it perfectly without training wheels. And I'm like, it's the fucking... That's what I told myself. It's the fucking bike. And eventually I just learned how to drive it, the big bike. And
I remember my mom brought me to some, like, bicycle safety class or something like that. Real white people shit.
yeah.
It was after it was like on the weekend, and you just kind of like brought your bike, and then you'd go through this like driver course, and then they'd have like cars come through, and you're supposed to look left, look right, then look left again, and then cross. All that kind of shit.
And not to get your story off, I'm so surprised that kids don't do that. Like, it's like, it doesn't even take that much, and, like, kids don't even do that. And the reason I'm saying that is because New Year's, so literally 2018, December 2018, or January 2019, my fucking cousins, just when we were lighting fireworks, I just remember they're crossing the street, and I told them, like, do you guys not look when you cross? And, like, I told them, I'm like, are you guys stupid? Like, you're supposed to look when you cross.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it's just, like, why, like... Because I don't know, they didn't go outside or what. It just makes sense. Sorry, keep going.
It's weird to think that that's like a dying trend. Looking where you're going, or looking to see there's no cars before you fucking...
cross.
Yeah.
A dying trend.
I wonder when the generation is going to be where it's like, I didn't go out as a kid, why do you need to go out? Kind of thing.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. Well, not necessarily like you can't go out, more like I'm not going to force my kid to go out.
Oh, I think that's already happening. For sure. You don't think so? Well, think about how your
I think I'm saying it wrong.
No, because I get what you're saying. You're like, parents not forcing their kids to go outside and exercise or do anything physical.
The thing is like, my parents didn't make me do that.
That's what I'm saying. I said that's why I think it's already here.
But I mean something else is what I'm saying. Like, even though my parents didn't make me go outside, it was always like, oh, he should go outside, and it's good when he does.
Oh, when do you think parents were like, oh, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, either it doesn't matter, or like they're nervous to let their kids outside to go do stuff.
I don't know. I think if we continue on the direction we're going, maybe. I feel like we're just being more and more protective of our children.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think personally that a way a child grows is independently. And I noticed that, I guess this is more my personal experience, is that anytime I wanted, or how do I even word this? I wanted to learn stuff by myself, and then I just wanted someone. I don't even know how to word that. I don't know.
So you use a free VPN, right?
Yeah, I downloaded some free VPN.
What's it called?
You just type in VPN. Mega VPN. Oh no, not Mega. Express. Why is Nolan making him download it or something?
I don't know. She brings it up every once in a while. I'm supposed to get one too.
How are you and Teresa?
Hmm?
How are you and Teresa?
The things are starting to get more strained. I'm starting to lose my shit.
Why don't you control yourself?
Because it's fucking hard. She's the most stressful job I have ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, I know. That's what I told you. After this first day, I was like, wow. Like, how could you do this? What are you gonna do? Just shut up and stop complaining? Pretty much.
Go until, once I get the loan off, I'm probably gonna be like, I can come Tuesday, Thursday, and then maybe all the other day. Or Tuesday, Thursday, I can't come Friday, and then...
Well,
I'll
yeah,
see
you should
on
just tell her, like,
Wednesday.
hey, I want to work I've paid off the van, can I work part-time now? And she's like, how many hours? She's like, 25 hours or something. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not like... I want it to be so that if something comes up, I'll go do it, but otherwise I'll go to work.
Oh, okay.
What else is there?
Oh, yeah, do you have anything to talk about? I have a topic. You don't have a topic.
Yeah, sure.
So, you remember my professor that I've complained about? The fucking guy I think is teaching bad philosophy to the students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our assignment so every Monday and Wednesday we have to read something before we come into class. And what he wants us to read, right? So, I don't even know how to, like... So he wants us to read Mein Kampf, and if you know what that is, that's a book by Hitler that he made while he was in prison. So Mein Kampf, right before he started the whole Nazi party and got popular, and he wants us to read a critique of it. And he's like, so what you begin to realize is most critiques of this speech are negative because it's Hitler, blah blah. He's like, but the critique you're going to be reading is through like this German guy who is in favor of it. You know what I mean? So it's like what the fuck is he... I don't know what the purpose of the reading of that critique is. You know, maybe the assignment is, okay, why is this guy wrong? But I'm still like, why are you teaching students this? You know what I mean? And why is it through the critic of someone who favors Nazism? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah. Still don't like him.
Maybe it's...
I don't know the assignment yet, but I'm saying that just the reading alone and the way he described it, like, that just seems... more towards the radical left.
Well, it's, I'd hope at least that it's more of like a view on how the world is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how could you present that?
Because it's like, so this guy is a Nazi, but he's critiquing Mein Kampf from like a perspective of that
Nazi.
thing. Yeah.
Or favor of Nazism.
That's
Even if he wasn't German, he's in favor of it.
That's like crazy interesting.
What?
The idea that, or the idea of reading a critique from the view of a Nazi.
Why?
Because it's totally unbiased against...
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, totally, yeah, I get that. But the teacher's like I decided I'm gonna do a presentation on him because he's like that. Not in him, but on using him as an example, because it's like this postmodern philosophy.
In his class?
No. In a communications class, we're supposed to do informative speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my informative speech is about identity politics, because like, really, I can't help it. Honest to God, it's like I'm following so much politics. I can't help myself from thinking about it. You know what I mean? And talking about it.
Mm.
So our informative speech was about anything. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta do it on politics. That's basically what I told myself. And so I decided to do identity politics and their flaw. And guess what I found out? Okay? You know the white privilege and male privilege? So it was written by this woman called Betty McIntosh, okay? She wrote it while she was at college in Cambridge or something, you know what I mean? And that was really, it's quoted as being the academic article that put white male thing into gender as identity politics. I mean, she was the one who really brought into education the idea of white male privilege, you know what I mean? And she did this in the late 80s, so it was 88 when it was published, and that's during the second wave of feminism. And so it literally says white privilege and male privilege, my personal account. You tell me how you're supposed to objectively look at society, right? So people are saying white men have privilege based on someone's personal account, basically. That the whole theory of white male privilege is based on a personal account. How do people that's extreme flaw. At no point did she quote, or there was no facts in it. It was just a personal opinion throughout the whole thing. And people are taking it seriously. Yeah, I'm gonna go over that, and then I'm gonna go over, look at what my teacher's saying. And I have quotes from him where he said, you won't need empirical data or statistics because those are a form of soft power. They're a form of soft power, and I can show you the fucking thing that he showed us by the government, and that we're gonna be using this thing called meta discourse. And I've already told you about this. Do you know what meta discourse is?
I think you mentioned it.
Conversation about conversation. So you know what that means? That means I can quote. So a perfect example is, say there's an alien that landed 1,500 years ago, and there's one account of it. You know what I mean? I could quote that and use it as actual evidence, as truth. Does that make sense? So he's saying you don't need real data. You don't need absolute truth. You can just use this thing called meta discourse. That's literally postmodern thought, you know what I mean? Not to use empirical data and use opinions. That's postmodern thought, and that's the thing that's making people go crazy, radical left and stuff like that. Not go crazy, but it's the reason why this whole identity politics is a thing. It's because teachers are teaching this.
I wonder if this is going to all fall by the wayside, or we're actually going to see a change.
Okay, so that's what I began to think. I'm so we transitioned, so the big transition from modernism to postmodernism was nothing. We kind of just developed what was already there. Because really think about modernism and the Industrial Revolution and all that came, we haven't really changed since then, you know what I mean? And the only thing that's changed is the internet. So that interconnectivity. So there has to be something about that is going to be so significant. Well, we already know how significant it is, but it's going to be even more significant to the point that as a culture, we change from the postmodernist mindset. Does it make sense? Because I think at some point people are okay, we can't. How do I say this? When we become more and more interconnected, I think people are going to be. It's going to go back to reality. Does it make sense? When right now we're able to tweet something and not look away. Imagine that we're so interconnected that I can hear your thoughts. You know what I mean? So now we're going to be forced to conversations. You know what I mean? So I'm just thinking of a future past postmodernism where people are no longer ignoring empirical data in favor of emotions or whatever. You know what I mean? Where all these postmodernists thing where they don't, for example, they just build upon arts. They don't renovate. Or you know what I mean? Andy Warhol. You know what I mean? His art is literally art about other people's art. You know what I mean? He just made it differently. Yeah. And so, when are we gonna move away from that thought and innovate what we already have? Does that make sense? Because that's really gonna change it from postmodernism to whatever the next stage of our culture is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was just thinking about that. At what point, what has to happen for us to change? And I think it's when our technology becomes a part of us.
That reminds me of there was this manga I read, and it was only a couple chapters, but I really liked it. It was a book. It was about some girl that grew up in a society where if you disrespected your parents, they'd put you down, kind of thing.
Oh.
And the world is literally just like a bunch of cities hundreds of miles away from each other. So every city you go to is like totally different.
Yeah.
And I remember one of them was a city that was pretty much entirely robots, but they were in the houses were like 2 miles away from each other.
What do you mean?
Like, it'd be a house. Think about neighborhoods we have right now. They're right next to each other. Instead of being right next to each other, it's like a 2 mile.
Yeah, and that's how the robots live?
That's how the houses are.
Okay.
And they thought it was uninhabited, but they were walking by one of these houses and there was a guy outside watering his lawn. And he like fucking bolted inside. And they walk up and they greet him, do whatever. And they're having a conversation. They're talking about what's actually happening. And the actual...
Wait, should I roll the second one?
I don't think we'll have time.
Oh, okay.
The reason that everything's like this is because at some point the society took a step to make it so everyone can hear each other's thoughts. And...
The robot society.
It's like humans. The robots run everything.
Okay.
They like maintain everything, and then the humans just sit in their house. Yeah.
Okay.
So they all started fucking hating each other within like a week. So everyone moved
away from each other,
so they could not hear each other's thoughts. And so everyone hates each other, and then these two roll up, and they're like the only people that he's seen in like years that he can't hear the thoughts of. So he's ecstatic. He's like, you guys,
like, hell yeah,
you guys can stay. You guys can come back anytime you want.
He's
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories that are just like that.
So what was the premise of the thing?
The story is the girl gets saved by some wanderer who came into town on his talking motorcycle. And he gave up his life for her, and she dipped with his motorcycle.
Damn.
And then it cuts to like 6 years later. She stole his identity and rides around on his motorcycle.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And now she's like a fucking badass sharpshooter kind of thing, or a gunslinger kind of thing.
Oh, so she's literally like, that's the whole series is her.
Yeah. It's just her going between these far-reaching cities.
Yeah, but what about the guy she stole the identity from?
Oh, he died there.
Oh, damn, that's sick.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm gonna take her identity and be who I want to be.
Yeah. Can't think of what else there was. There was a city that was just absolutely empty, and fuck, I'm trying to remember what the reason was that everyone died. I think it was they had like a king, and he was like a monarch or like a dictator, and then they overthrew him, and then the guy that stepped up was equally considered like a dictator, so they killed him, and someone else stepped up, and it just kept going and going and going
until they killed everyone.
Yeah, until there's a fucking massive graveyard in front of the palace, and it's just one guy walking or driving around the city, maintaining it. And when they came, they're like, "Oh, you'll be my subjects now," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they just fucking got out of there.
Hella. What the heck? You know what's so interesting? This is kind of a little off topic. That Asian people really know, they really like expand on stories, and they really take stories in a weird direction.
Yeah.
Like that old boy story that did I tell you about it? How, like, the whole premise was he put this guy in prison for 15 years because he was the one who spread the rumor about him having sex with his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then made him fuck his daughter. Yeah. we start talking about Kill Bill?
Sure.
All right, start.
So I watched the
Okay, we're talking about Kill Bill. So what about it?
I watched the last half of
The second
the
one.
second one like a week ago.
Uh,
And I decided, this is cool. I want to watch the rest of it.
So, I don't know if you noticed, but the first movie was a samurai movie. Or, like, heavily based on samurais.
Yeah, I
And then
noticed
the
that.
second one was a cowboy, or a western. Can you tell?
I couldn't tell the second one.
Yeah, if you watch the second one, you'll tell. Like, all the little tropes of the fucking, samurai films are still there a little bit, but it's now a western. And, instead of guns, they're using samurai swords. And it's good. Ew, why do you have ash?
That's how it is.
It's how ash.
It's when I'm in the van, I just dump it all in there. There's some cool fucking shots in there.
Oh yeah, okay, so yeah. So it's really interesting because let me explain the timeline. So Quentin Tarantino just came out with fucking Jackie Brown before this. And it was honest to God a fucking flop. You know what I mean? No one really liked it. And so he kind of went on like a break, because the thing is that when he made his first film, Reservoir Dogs, he kind of like blew up as this guy who made this crazy good independent film, and he made this crazy good independent film, and it's like this violent with this talking, you know what I mean, how Tarantino talks, and people were just enamored by this new type of, you know what I mean, this new guy, right?
Mm.
Then the next year he sells True Romance, right? The script, or no, that same year he sold the script, and then True Romance, the film, came out with the credits of written by Quentin Tarantino. And then the next year, another one he wrote by another script that he wrote and directed by Oliver Stone was released. So like for the first 3 years he was really fucking popping, and then that next year Pulp Fiction came out. So he was really fucking popular. Like with Pulp Fiction, he won like awards like the Palme d'Or, which is like one of the biggest film awards ever, you know what I mean? And he got that for his second film. And so it's like he was really like on top of his game, and like he was like everywhere. Like no one in Hollywood, no one could not speak his name, you know what I mean? Because he was that popular. And then he came out with Jackie Brown 2 years after Pulp Fiction, and it was a flop. Like no one, like it wasn't Pulp Fiction, it wasn't Reservoir Dogs, it wasn't True Romance, it wasn't like any other Quentin Tarantino film, and no one really liked it. And so he went on, he didn't, usually the way it worked is every 2 years a film came out for him, and he stopped for like 5 years. And so it was because he was making Kill Bill, but I don't know, he just went on a hiatus because I assume, not a hiatus, but he just went on a break because I assume people were expecting a lot from him, you know what I mean? So the interesting thing about this script is that he actually started writing it during Pulp Fiction because of Uma Thurman, right? She came up to him during the scene, you know, Pulp Fiction, where they're filming, and she's like, I have this idea of a bride who gets killed in the beginning of the movie, you know what I mean? She's wearing this dress. So she was like kind of the one who basically thought of the whole beginning of the film. And it kind of just went on from there, and they wrote it together, or they worked on it, and they made it, and it came out good.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to look at it, it's tight. I packed her tight. Oh damn! You get the torch lighter.
Yeah, that's the best blunt lighter.
Oh, that's right. So this film's really the child of Uma Thurman and Quentin Tarantino coming together. And I don't know if you're gonna say something, but the really interesting thing is that if you look at all his scripts, True Romance, Natural Born Killers, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, and Pulp Fiction, they're these crime movies, you know what I mean? And he usually worked with Roger Avary, which was his co-writer since he worked at the video store. I don't know if you know about his back, but he worked at a video store, and they used to work together, and he became famous, right? And then they had a breaking up, and they stopped working together, right? So like, if you look at those films, they're really like, he doesn't have any movies like Pulp Fiction anymore, you know what I mean? And it's so interesting because the first movie right after it is the samurai western, you know what I mean? It's no longer these crime films, it's the samurai western film. And it just shows the departure of Quentin Tarantino with Roger Ebert to him with his own independent work. You know what I mean?
I was just thinking about how crazy it was in Pulp Fiction that he chose to murder, or he chose to have, I think it's Vince, the guy that saves that mob boss's wife from ODing. How crazy it is that he died in that scene.
Yeah.
Because there really was no reason to kill him off in, like, the grand scheme of that. Like, it wasn't, like, a personal...
A personal thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because if you told it... Like, I really want to get the... There's no one... People have put in the movie in order. Does that make sense? But no one has played... Like, people have chronologically put it in order through text, but no one's edited the movie in order. Does it make sense? Because if you really think about it, the movie would be fucking boring if it was in order. You know what I mean? It starts off with Vincent weeks ago, right? With Mia Wallace having the dinner. Because that happened first. So, or that happened... I don't even know, but it would be a different story. You know what I mean? So, if you think about fucking Kill Bill... the way it's told, I'm trying to think. The way like she ran around and all that stuff. I don't know. It really shows the type of filmmaker he is.
So in the second one, I forgot where I was going with that.
So in the second one, the beginning of the film starts off with her going after the only dude in the group. This is so you find out the child's hers, right?
Ooh, Jesus. Oof.
You find out the child's hers, right?
You find that in the first one.
Oh. Well, the child's hers, and and the fight at the end, you know what I mean? Is so badass.
Oh, the one where she fucking pops his heart?
Yeah. God.
Yeah. I like the part where she got the other lady's eye.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's fucking nuts, dude.
That's like poetic justice.
And you know what's crazy about those two actors? Is that they really, Uma Thurman and that blonde lady, is they despised each other so much that during the entire filming of both the movies that they never interacted with each other outside of the screen. Then on top of that, anytime they worked with each other for some other thing, they got separated again and didn't interact with each other. Like, that's how much they despised each other. So it's just really interesting that they're, one was here and one was the enemy.
Yeah.
Damn. You don't want another one?
Nah. I gotta...
Work?
Yeah, at like 4 I gotta go.
But yeah, that's another thing.
So, when did they find out that the master died in the second one earlier in the movie, or is it just when they reveal that she killed him after he stole her eye?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's so crazy because, like, that's a perfect trope of samurai movies. Of, like, killing the master, and that's why she kills her. Or she doesn't even kill her, which is a beautiful Quentin Tarantino thing. Oh, he's on the phone.
Okay. I just saw the bun on top.
Yeah. Like, imagine fucking, I'm trying to think. So, most people, right, in that trailer park scene, right, where where they're fighting, would just kill her off, right? But instead, like, she only has one eye, and then she's just gonna take out the other eye and leave her there. Like, name a more torturous way of someone dying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, just Tarantino is just so good at doing stuff like that.
Also thinking about the fact that, like, in the beginning, she didn't kill... Or they ended up not killing her with the injection because they said if she ever wakes up, we're gonna inflict more torture on her.
Yeah.
And then she fucking, like, rips the eye.
You didn't
there
hear
you go.
it. she inflicts more damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just so good, just the way he tortures people and his violence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like for example, the 1v50, the crazy 88 or 68 or whatever, she literally takes on everyone. What's it called? There's a thing I had about that scene. Oh, you know when she goes in and there's blue? There's a blue screen in the background and she's fighting the shadows back and forth. That's a direct copy from another samurai film. Like the way Tarantino is able to seamlessly just put in homages to these other films, you know what I mean? Is why people literally love his films, because it's yeah, you're watching this, I guess this... Oh, which is another, thing. People call him, a misogynistic, type of person. They call him a racist because he uses the word nigger in his, a lot, you know what I mean? And, but it's, he's not, you know what I mean? It's, I don't know a stronger woman character than that. Really, name... But then, okay, then I thought about this, a couple of years ago. If you flip the it could have easily been for a male, and he literally wrote all the lines and all the actions for a male, and it could have been easily replaced for a male. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the flaws with it, is that she made this really strong, and also the color yellow is it's not pink, or it's not pink and it's not blue. You know what I mean? It's really in between. And I'm just trying to say, she was a female character, obviously. She was like the sushi scene. Remember when she was very feminine?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I trying to say with that? Oh yeah, that was one of the scenes that showed her as a feminine woman, but for the most part, she just seemed like a man.
It's funny that you say that, because when that scene came up, I thought she was fucking with him. I didn't think it was a real scene for her, or a real moment for her.
What do you mean?
Because they were being all flirty and shit like that, and then she reveals that she's there for a sword, and it gets down to business and that flirty shit anymore.
Yeah. And I also think she's very attractive. Do you think she's pretty?
She's alright.
Really? I think she's very pretty. But I also have this weird thing about tall women like that. You know what I mean? Tall, skinny women. And yeah, so when she came into that thing, I thought she was very attractive during that scene.
She reminds me of that lady from The Shining.
Oh yeah, no. No, not for me.
She's not as actually horrifying, but...
And yeah. Damn, this blunt is thick. We even just handed it off, you know what I mean? What else? Actually, I like the way... So if you remember the diner scene in Pulp Fiction, she talks about how she was in a 5-person group, you know what I mean? One of them was called Foxy whatever, one of them was whatever, one of them was Snake Eyes, one of them was...
She was the robber lady, right?
But yeah, something like that. But she talked about the pilot on the show that she played at. Remember in Pulp Fiction? And she was at the diner and she was talking about it? Vaguely, do you remember?
Not really.
Okay, well, hold on.
I'll probably remember it if you keep going.
Remember in the beginning of the film where they're like, yeah, she played on a pilot. And they're like, what's a pilot? And they're like, oh, it's something that you show to the producers before, you know what I mean, before the show becomes a show. And they're like, he's like, it was on one of the shows that didn't become a show. And they, yeah. Then she talks about the part of the pilot at the diner. Does it make sense? The pilot itself is the movie. It's about 5 people who are these assassins, you know what I mean? So it's the prequel to the film. Does it make sense? So now technically it takes place after the film in which they screwed her over, right? And she's going to kill them. Tarantino has interconnected all of his universes so much that they all jump to each other like this.
So Kill Bill would be like a movie inside a movie then.
Yeah.
Damn, I wonder if that's why it's so chaotic and out there. Because his films are already kind of out there, and then Kill Bill is fucking crazy, and it's actually a movie inside the universe.
Yeah. And you know what's even crazier? in True Romance, the script that he directed, the guy talks about this famous guy who's trying to, or a director who's trying to buy a script, right? That director, his great grandfather is in Glorious Bastards and is fighting in World War II. Like, they're so interconnected. It's so crazy. What else? There's just relatives inside. There's some type of connection in Jackie Brown that connects them to Pulp Fiction. In Reservoir Dogs, I'm trying to think. I don't think there is like a blatant connection, but I think because of like the time period and like the way it's all set, that it just kind of. I'm trying to think why it's connected, but somehow Reservoir Dogs is connected too. But all his films are connected somehow. Damn, this one's like I'm feeling it.
It's going pretty long too.
Yeah, I packed it tight, dude. Like, there's at least like 2.5, 3 grams in this little lunch.
Damn.
No weak Steven roll. No offense.
I'm trying to think of what else I remember from the second one.
Well, just tell me what you like about anything.
Like, when did the second one start? Like, in the story?
So, it's so cool because the beginning of the film starts like an old noir film. So, in the beginning of the film, it's like a 1930s noir where it's like the camera is in front of an old car. Uma Thurman is in black and white wearing like a man's suit or something like that, and she's driving a car and she's like, I'm on the way to go kill blah blah blah, but on the way, but she's just basically catching you up on the story, and then boom, you're into the action. And so right away you're in the middle of the desert. She's about to go fight the fucking one cowboy dude. I forgot his name.
Is it the part where she shoots him with a shot? He shoots her with the shotgun.
That's way in the middle of the film.
Okay,
so this
that's
is the
the one
first. This is the first time they meet. You know what I mean? And they talk, and she leaves for some reason, or something like that. But it's super Sergio Leone from like that point on. It's like Sergio Leone, and you know when it goes to their faces and stuff like that, that's like Sergio Leone. Like that's like Italian spaghetti western films, and that's why it's just so fun to watch his films. You know what I mean? Because it's an element in which it's this character, or it's Quentin Tarantino, and it's told in a Quentin Tarantino way, but then he's referencing film, period, all like underlying throughout the whole thing, and that's why people in film like it. You know what I mean? And then the reason why people can enjoy it is because it connects to the B-list movies that are just like gory, killing film, you know what I mean, blood and shit like that people can easily just watch, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's why normal people can just watch it. And then, sorry, let's get you off.
It's weird or for me to like talk to people that I'll realize that they look for totally different things in films than me, and then it's just like, well, we're just not gonna agree on shit.
Yeah,
because he's gonna think I'm being fucking pretentious. Like,
yeah,
wussy shit, and I just think he's chasing explosions.
Yeah. What's it called? Oh, I was gonna say is back to the whole how Quentin Tarantino gets audiences. I think this film, because Jackie Brown was a female lead film, but I think it was really this film where it's like, okay, now women can go to the B-list movies and enjoy the gore. Because it's a woman fucking kicking ass, you know what I mean? And there's other women just as badass as her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really think this was the movie where like women were like, okay, I like his movies.
Did I say a name in that last thing?
Her name?
Did I say a name when I was talking about the difference between me and someone else's name? Damn.
Why?
Because I was like thinking of someone, and when I got done with that, I'm like, did I say his name?
Who was it?
It's Hayden. Hayden likes more explosive movies, I guess, like Lord of the Rings and shit.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to teach myself, and I'm still teaching myself right now. And I think I always complain to you about like people who are like people who aren't in film and who aren't serious about it, and I complain about them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not complain about them anymore because it's really, people have different tastes in film. You know what I mean? Some people really just love the fucking the mainstream films, those big. Some people just love those explosion films. Some people just love the Marvel films and stuff like that, and that's why they want to do movies. But that's not why I want to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like I shouldn't have a negative attitude about them. You know what I mean? I should just be like, okay, they're just on a different. They just appreciate it in a different way. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get rid of that negative idea of it.
Do you know what a movie Killing Them Softly is? You may have heard of a scene from it. It's like, at the beginning of a movie, there's a scene where they're robbing like a gambling hall, and they pull out the guns, and one of them pulls out a fucking double-barrel shotgun where the shells are sticking out the end.
Okay.
And they have a argument about it, and he's like, I forget what he said. What do you mean
the shells are sticking out?
Like, the shotgun, it's a double-barrel shotgun.
But it's cut?
It's cut.
So
fucking short that...
Wait, so is it a comedy?
No, it's a totally serious movie.
Okay.
And they just have this joke at the beginning of the thing.
So wait, hold on. Just so you know, what year did this film come out?
This was when we were in high school.
Okay, yeah. So that's totally Tarantino-esque. This is that's like a thing when you look at films. I'm just telling you, when you look at films now, that's something that, like, before Tarantino, people wouldn't just break serious films to have a comedy joke like that. You know what I mean? And Tarantino would.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's like a Tarantino thing. So sorry, the barrel. Sorry.
And then he's like, what the fuck are you gonna do with that? And it's like, he was saying, fuck, I only remember the punchline. So they were arguing about something. He's like, if they get up, I'll just shoot. Or if they get up, then
I'll just shoot them.
I'll just shoot them. It's like, you're only gonna hit everyone in the room. So it's like, if one good person gets up, everyone's dead.
Yeah.
God damn. Thinking about the, like, explosion radius of, like...
The nug fell, dude.
Yeah, fuck.
Just throw it out the window. The explosion radius of that barrel?
Yeah, it's just, like, room wide. I think about that scene a lot. What you call it?
Why?
Just because it's so...
Okay, what is the premise of the film?
The premise of the film is these two, like, dumbasses rob a gambling ring of, like, mob bosses.
Okay.
And they all fucking hire an assassin who... The film basically follows him as he kills these two.
Uh-huh.
And, at the beginning of the film, he explains that, like, I don't like executing people and watching them get all blubbery and then, like, shit their pants and stuff like that. I don't want them to die a miserable mess. So I do it. I call it Killing Them Softly.
Yeah.
And then the whole movie is just about them, like, setting up, like, where is he? How am I going to get to it? And then how am I going to do it?
Like, and he narrates that sort of way?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you watched, that's a fucking straight off steal of, what's it called? The Brothers film, really religious, a lot of killing. You know about it. I know you know the name, because it's really popular. It had the Walking Dead actor when he was really young.
Which one?
The really hick guy with the bow and arrow gun.
Oh.
When he was really young, he played it, and they're really religious Irish guys who go on a killing spree for religious reasons.
What's the name?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know the name. Okay, well, the whole premise of the film is that. is that these scenes are set up sort of like that in this weird way where they narrate it and they're like, okay, this is what happened, right? And the police go by, right, and they investigate the scene. They're like, what the fuck happened? Then it cuts to the beginning of what really happened, and these two guys are basically got a call from God to kill all the bad guys in Boston. It's so good. You should watch it. I want to make a film similar to it and just like basically that, but with more emotion. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And yeah, and so they go on a killing spree and they kill a bunch of hookers and all these shit, and it ends up in there's a sequel. There's 2 other sequels, but it's really the first one that did really good. And so it's the cops narrating what happened, then it rewinds and it tells you what really happened, and it just goes on a huge shooting spree basically, and then restarts again. Then the next scene's like, what the fuck happened? Then it explains what happened, and then restarts again. I think it did 3 times. So is it sort of like that?
I think so. It's been a while ago, so I don't remember exactly how it goes.
But do you remember someone narrating and then the scene happening and someone narrating again and the scene happening?
Yeah, I just remember he'd like walk a lot of places, talk to people, and then eventually he'd get to the point where he'd shoot someone through a door window or something like that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, but the point of all this was that we walked out of the theater, and I remember they were talking about the movie, and they asked me
what you thought?
What I thought. I'm like, I really liked it. And all of them fucking hated it. They were like,
movie?
It's so boring. Killing Them Softly.
Oh, okay. Hayden?
Yeah. Hayden, Jimmy, and I think there was someone else besides his dad.
And they just didn't like it?
Yeah, they didn't like it. They thought it was boring.
Wouldn't you like it? And what, you liked it?
Yeah.
So you just realize, they don't really like...
Yeah.
The same type of movies you like? Then what type of movies didn't you like?
I like, I guess quirky kind of films.
Like, name one.
Like Moonrise Kingdom, or Quentin Tarantino films.
So I think you'd like the new directors. You should just look at all the new directors that came out. Because the new directors they all have kind of a style. Christopher Nolan, David Fincher. What was it? I'm thinking about something completely different. So I'm thinking about this thing. So I guess the sentence that came up in my head is, while D.W. Griffith makes like masterpiece films, right? It'll make sense in a second. And David Fincher makes films that kind of like stretch and pull the medium of film. Does it make sense? Quentin Tarantino would be someone who his purpose in films would be just to be someone who loves films. Does it make sense? Like, I'm trying to say, like, these people have these titles for how they're so good and they're masterful in film. Does it make sense? I guess I'm just repeating myself. Quentin Tarantino would be someone who's just so just about films, you know what I mean? That all his films are about other films. And like, so fucking True Romance, they end up going to like a director's studio, right? And it's a huge diss at a director, right? Subconsciously. And he didn't direct the film, just the script was, right? Then Pulp Fiction, it had that scene in which they talked about the pilot, right? And then, so those are films that reference films. Oh, Inglourious Bastards, she burns down a movie theater to kill Hitler. She works at a movie theater and she loves film, you know what I mean? And she's like, I have to sacrifice the film to kill Hitler, right? And because film was really, really flammable back then, you know what I mean? Like, any lighter and the whole fucking place could catch on fire just because of film, you know what I mean?
Damn.
Yeah, so this one German, the whole premise of the film is this. Have you watched it?
I know the end, and I know like a bunch of scenes between, like the spy scene.
Yeah.
From like video essays. But
Okay, well this guy, he's super popular in Germany because he was alone, and all the rebels or the you know what I mean, who were trying to defend or go against the people against I forgot what they used. He had to defend them, and he killed like 2,000 people over like a week or something like that, alone in a tower, just shooting for day and night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a week, and that's why he was commemorated, and they made a film about it, and they recreated the film. You know what I mean? He just sits there shooting people. You know what I mean? Innocent people. You know, technically to us they're innocent, and that's why he's praised. And so this film is going to be played at the movie theater, and she's like, "This is my time, and I get to kill Hitler," right? And she closes them all in, and she burns the place down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's again about film. You know what I mean? What else? I can't think of it on top of my head, but all his films are about film. You know what I mean? It's just so I think that's why people like film or like him.
Damn. It's Kill Bill.
Oh yeah.
So what else was there? The master seemed a little out of the place.
The Bill?
No,
Oh yeah.
like the white guy with the
Yeah.
Asian guy with the white beard.
Yeah.
It seemed almost like too wacky for it.
Why?
Because everything was just kind of wacky, but it kind of tried to keep the serious tone under it.
It's not wacky. That's samurai films. If you go watch samurai films, like, you know how she had the sword and he went on it like that? Is that how you're talking about wacky?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like samurai films. You know what I mean? So that's the whole purpose. You know what I mean? Yeah. I guess so. If you're trying to critique it, it could be seen as breaking away from the seriousness. Because she's there to train. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it just seemed out of place. But I guess it makes sense if you know that it's
from samurai film. Yeah, you know what you should watch? You should go watch the 36 Chambers for two reasons. One, because Wu-Tang Clan, their whole album is based on that movie. You know what I mean? And two, the album... what?
My lip is on fucking fire
Why?
right now. I have no clue. I have hot flakes on it, but it's only right here.
There's nothing on your face. Anyways, 36 Chambers, it's from the Wu-Tang album that got them famous. They took audio clips from the movie and put it in the album. And two, because it's one of the most famous movies of all time. And three, it'll give you a good like just a general idea of, okay, this is how samurai like kung fu films are. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And then you'll understand for the Quentin Tarantino film and any other samurai film. Whenever they talk about the tropes of it, you'll kind of understand from that one film.
Mm.
I'm saying if you'd like to. It's a really good film.
Do you know what Kung Fury is?
Kung Fury? Oh, the fucking, what's it called? David Hasselhoff? Fucking...
Yeah. So, they like, explained it to me, but I didn't really get it. It's a dub over a movie that's not his, or it's, like, scenes mixed together with a real movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they were trying to tell me about it.
That's really cool. Okay, so this is a little bit off topic. I really want to when I make my films, I really want to, like, if you were to look at me as a filmmaker, it'd be like, oh, Caleb wants to do a bunch of different forms of film. Does that make sense? So I would really want to look at something like that. Like, be able to make a film from, like, a clip of other film, like another film, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that'd be really interesting. Sorry, keep going.
It was really stupid, from what I remember.
Okay. Well, I don't know, it seems so... How'd you do that? But yeah, I already told you about direct cinema, right? A little bit, the whole fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I want to do one of those, and I want to make I think I could make a really, really good one. Because the last one to ever, someone to really, truly, like, try to do a film like that in the way they did it in the 60s when the Americans did it, no one really does it. Usually people will take its style for Paranormal Activity is that direct cinema, like cinema verite style, like that. Them holding the cameras, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That kind of style. They take the style, but the way I'm trying to do it is a strict documentary. You know what I mean? And I think I could do it about a subject that'd be really good. I don't know, but I think I could do it new in a better way that people would enjoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I could edit it in certain ways.
Yeah.
That's just me talking about like the movies I want to make.
Still don't know if I'd make a movie, or if that's like something I'm like into.
Oh yeah, I get that. People don't like you enjoy drawing. You know what I mean? Not that I don't have anything against drawing. It's just that I don't enjoy drawing.
Yeah. It's weird because I kind of like want to, because movies are cool. It's just I can't really think of it in that format.
I think a lot of issues. I'm not even trying to toot my own horn. To be able to think of a story, you have to really just sit there and think a lot, and just really just sit there and think, because like what people don't really understand is like when you get like to actually recording, it's completely different from what you thought. And if you weren't just sitting there thinking about it, and at least like having a general idea of like, I don't know, because people are just like, oh, it should be easy. You have the story, and you just kind of point the camera and film it. And it's like, no, that's how you tell a shitty way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, the script. Oh, I guess we can talk about that. We still have 30 minutes. Can we start talking about that? My script. Mm-hmm. For example, the script. I'm fucking like I'm like to the point where like I'm writing down their gestures. I'm writing down in which they pass over, like they like have to pass over certain points at certain points of the word. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. Like I'm timing their speeches because I want them, for example, I'm gonna see if I can do the post office scene, right? Where they pass by the post office. I could easily just not have them act like the doors are locked, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I want to be able to like a thing where it kind of just like the way I want to visually tell the story. You know what I mean? It has to be so, you know what I mean? I'm saying that there's a lot of thought that has to be taken into it. And it's simply two people walking, you know what I mean? It's people don't really understand that about film. People just kind of just go into it thinking, I'm just going to create a story. And it's like, no, that's how you make a shitty film.
Mm-hmm. Do you want the login info for the VPN?
A login? Oh,
You should just download it, right?
yeah. And then it just said on, and I clicked on, and it says you have a 7-day free trial. But yeah, transitioning into my script. Kill Bill, good, right?
Yeah.
I have this idea. So we already talked about that super powerful scene in which he talks about the death of his girlfriend and he steals her heart, you know what I mean? And that's the purpose of the film. They're going to go to her heart, right? I guess it's a MacGuffin, right? Because I don't ever show the heart, and the purpose isn't them finding the heart. It's really just the conversation. Is on there?
That's wild.
And is he still walking this way?
He's like coming back and forth.
Should we wait?
He's going back and forth and back and forth.
Do you want to leave?
Kinda, yeah.
Good then. It's not a cop, you know what I mean? Okay, be right back. Alright, we're back. Oh yeah, my script. So the purpose of the film, I want them looking for the heart. So I want the heart to be brought up like I want them to be going in the wrong direction on purpose, because they're like, hey, do you want to go to Paris really quick? Because I think I'm gonna see if I can put that scene in there. And them already knowing what Paris they go, you know what I mean? Then I have this like transition. I already know I'm gonna break away from them for a little bit visually, and I'm gonna start playing romantic music, and it's gonna show like the shitty area, you know what I mean? And then if I get the drone or something, like some type of like flowy shots, you know what I mean? And then like you get to the fucking the Paris scene, and I want it to like fade to black and then fade. I don't know. I want something where it's revealed, you know what I mean? And it's actually the wire, you know, the fucking electric tower. And then as it pans out, they're already there, you know what I mean? It's kind of like they're on the street into already walking. I want them walking on the fucking
bike path.
Yeah, there, or like already about to go to the bike path, you know what I mean? So I have a good idea of how I want to present that scene. And so I want them to stray away from it, and they're like, wait, where are we supposed to be going towards? Like the heart, you know what I mean? So I want them to sidetrack for a little bit where they start talking about something, you know what I mean? And then they're like, okay, wait, we have to keep going, you know what I mean? So that's why I think I might make it 2 hours.
You could, you know what I think would be cool?
What?
If you're going down the bike path and you kind of have them one in front of the other, walking down the thing, so you can identify which side of the bike path you're on.
Yeah.
And they walk, and then they stop, look out, and then the camera goes to behind them, and it's Paris, and then they zoom in, and then they're on one of the concrete things.
I think I understand what you're saying, but I have a better way. I basically I like the way you did it, and then I want to do it better, you know what I mean? And I think that, I don't know, that's cool though. Anyway, so yeah, so I have them walking, and I want them to. They just got into argument of politics, but I had it way overblown, and it was so blatant that I was trying to say an opinion, you know what I mean? So it's really subtle now, and it's still an argument about Trump, you know what I mean? But it's way more subtle, and it's way more. It doesn't look like, in my opinion, it looks like an argument, you know what I mean? And then so I'm breaking away from an argument for just a little bit. So, you know, Stair Rose, I want them walking down that area, you know what I mean? And I want them to eventually get to the post office, right? And he's like, okay, this is where, because he just happens to have an envelope in his pocket that he has to drop off. You know what I mean? I don't need to explain it. I just need him to drop off an envelope. He goes to the door. It's locked. And then then I really I can really go into my argument or my opinion, and it won't look like my opinion. You know what I mean? Because then I'm going to be like, oh, look at it. It's shut down because of the government. You know what I mean? And then now I could just blatantly say my opinion about that, and then I'm going to go into it. So I'm still writing the conversation in which they walk from the street, because I have this very strict shot of the swap meet where I want them to walk. You know what I mean? And then from that conversation, because it transitioned from talking about the heart and talking about, oh yeah, I had this scene in which a girl pulls up and they talk about relationships, you know what I mean? So it was this whole scene in which they're talking about the relationship with that girl / love in general, you know what I mean? And then that's when the whole politics comes up with love, you know what I mean? And then that's what talks about Trump a little bit. Then I want to talk about something else. Then it talks about Trump again, you know what I mean? Yeah, and that's what I'm working on right now. And and that's what I was gonna say. I threw out the whole premise that I had before. I'm going way My Dinner with Andre more, where it's this, and I think if I'm gonna go for 2 hours, I'm gonna just have it super My Dinner with Andre, where these people just tell stories, or one person just tells a story for obscene amount of time, like 7 minutes or something like that, you know, where fucking Andre would talking for a long time while he would be like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it would be a lot like that. And then the second half of the film would really be the second person, the philosopher talking, you know what I mean? And it's sort of like how Wally ends My Dinner with Andre with his opinion sort of thing. So it's very, very My Dinner with Andre-esque.
Okay. Have you figured out what you're going to say now yet?
No. I'm kind of going as the conversation goes, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. I usually kind of write out. I'm still writing out this next scene, so that's why I kind of tell you my scenes. And then right now, where should I go from the post office? So I go to Paris. What should be should I show them walking from the post office to Paris, or should I cut to Paris and then talking about a different topic? Does that make sense? Or do I want to keep the walking theme where they're walking, and what should they talk about? See, this is when I get to a point and I usually talk to you about it.
So are they telling meaningful stories?
Yeah, they're very, like, and it's super, like, the stories are, like, fucking, like, they're very vivid, like my dinner with Andre, where he goes into the detail about it, and it's literally a bunch of ideas that I've had, or, like, scripts I've written down, and I would just take little ideas from it, whatever, you know what I mean? And then I just got some of my personal, you know what I mean, experiences, and I threw that in there, and then for both their stories, you know what I mean? So that's how I'm kind of making their characters. So I guess both their characters are exactly like me. But their stories are their stories are nothing like mine, you know what I mean? But they're very based in my, you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. But they're nothing like mine. And what was I trying to say about that? What was I trying to say about that? Yeah, but they just have these wacky directions for their own character, or their own stories. So whatever topic you think, or whatever backstory you think I can give the philosopher, I'm willing to give them, because I don't have very much. I just have him as this nihilistic guy, because, okay, so he's still sort of my professor, though. He's based off my professor. He's this really nihilistic guy who thinks he doesn't want to be above everyone, but he's so smart that he just happens to be smarter than everyone, and that's how he presents himself, you know what I mean? That's literally how my professor presents someone there.
I just saw someone at McDonald's.
My professor presents himself, and he literally said, like, on the bell curve of intelligence, he's like, the reason why I was hanging out with the losers is because I was so smart, you know what I mean? Like, who says that as a professor?
Yeah.
And so that's where the character he literally says that, and so that's like where the character is really based, you know what I mean? He thinks logically, you know what I mean? He's really nihilistic, you know what I mean? His opinions are strictly based on the media, you know what I mean? Because I want him to be presented as, and that's the thing, is that he's no longer this very pretentious person who's like just trying to say his opinion. He plays the society that everyone's going to side with, you know what I mean? I know this character I'm going to make, people are going to side with him for the most part, you know what I mean? But the whole story is that our society, as this character, is listening to me in my opinions about society. Does it make sense? And that's the real subtext is off.
Yeah.
That's the subtext of the film. Make sense? So I guess if I would want to design that person's backstory, it'd have to really be based on the opinions of people today. So what, like, for example, people say they hate their life, you know what I mean? There's not very much people who say they love life, you know what I mean? Most people are negative, and they're like, oh, like, I just want to lay down all day and do shit like that, you know what I mean?
So are we talking about the backstory for the professor?
Yeah, I guess.
So I guess make him sort of like a middle class.
He is. That's already set. He's a middle class professor. The way he presents himself is going to be middle class.
And then, so the other guy is not nihilistic? What is he?
He's very, I guess he's more like me than the other character. I guess the other character would be a different nihilistic version of me, you know what I mean? And this character is more like me, who's a filmmaker who wants to make all these type of films. He's the better version of me, you know what I mean? Like, where Caleb wouldn't say this, he would say this, you know what I mean? And so he's just a better version filmmaker of me, you know what I mean? He's very optimistic about life, he's very ambitious in what he wants to do. He's very opinionated on his stuff. He's not, the way he presents his stuff is that he cares about life, you know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that he's going to give them stuff for free, you know what I mean? That's politically, that's what he thinks. What else? he's bisexual. So I put that in there. And because I thought that would be interesting because it's very easy for people to be like, it's a very intersection, not whole identity politics and all that. It's very easy for people to be like, oh, okay, this film is progressive because there's a bisexual man, you know what I mean? So that's one reason I put it in there too, because then the story, but when I start talking about love, he talks about love with another man, and then this other person, because he's so like society, he's okay with it, you know what I mean? At no point does he ever show that he's not okay with him being with another man, but he questions it like, oh, but like growing up, you know what I mean? Oh, look, what the fuck are they doing? Oh. But
I think it's a bunch of cholos.
yeah, they're smoking, probably.
Oh.
They probably go to Maricosta.
I thought they were arguing.
Oh. So yes, he's very optimistic. I mean bisexual because it just very seems progressive and easy to write about, you know what I mean? And so it talks about, and that's what he talks about in the story of love, and just very optimistic. He's very his opinions aren't like society, you know what I mean? I guess he's very, I don't even know how to describe his personality. But it's very much like my personality, you know what I mean? It's not like I don't care about anyone, but it's not like I'm gonna give them anything for free. I'm thinking, so they get to the post office, and that's what provokes the argument about Trump. Oh yeah, okay, this is how I wanted to present it. I remember. I wanted the philosopher to be a smoker, like he's constantly smoking. Like anytime they're like at a stoplight or like at a corner or they stop to talk, he's gonna light a cigarette. You know, because I really, just like Quentin Tarantino, like characters have to have a cigarette because one of the it doesn't need. One, because it's an aesthetic thing. Two, because it gives the character something to do. And three, because it's an aesthetic thing.
Think about the fact that, like, the cigarette industry was so good at their advertising that the act of smoking is, like, fucking cool in cinema.
Yeah.
And it's, like, something everyone does just because of how much they like it.
Yeah. And it's, I don't want all my characters smoking, that's the thing. I feel like when someone has a cigarette, it gives a type of grittiness to them. And I don't know. And it gives them something to do. And it gives, like, a characteristic, you know what I mean? If there's only two friends in the film and only one of them smokes, then it's a characteristic for one of the characters, you know what I mean? So that's why I really like it. And so the fucking filmmaker doesn't smoke, but he only smokes pot. So when they go to Paris, and that's the reason why they smoke pot. And I think that's when they should talk about like something really deep, because it's pot, you know what I mean? And so I don't know what I'm gonna write there, but that's I have a vague idea for that.
Is it still going to the post office?
Yeah, so they got to the post office to return the envelope, and they realize it's locked. He says, "Oh, look, it's because of Trump." He's like, "Oh, because look, it's your President Trump." He'll probably say something like that, and he's like, shutting down the government like a child or something like that, because that's something I would say, and then I would go into an argument about just all that, the whole government shut down, and then just more about Trump. And then I would want to transition. Should it be more of an argument, or should I talk about it? Should I just talk about it lightly like I did before? Because or should it be an argument? Because earlier when I talked about it, it was very just a light thing where it was very opinionated. It was light, but it was just it's like a segue-ish topic.
I mean, how far into the movie is it? I think you'd want to.
It's about 30 minutes.
Dialogue as you go.
Oh yeah, it's 30 minutes in.
It's probably
start the argument.
Maybe like light argument. Like it's the tint of like.
Well, it was already heated. Like a tint of getting. Well, it was already opinionated. Like the last time. Well, the reason why I made it opinionated was because because that filmmaker, if he's like me, he's like, if someone were to question my opinion, I would be blunt on my opinion, and so that's how the way he presented his opinion. He didn't back down for whatever the argument was. And so it wasn't heated or anything. It was just very opinionated, and they didn't agree on anything.
Okay. So I guess you could make it like a heated shit and then just like tone it the fuck down in the next thing, and then sort of start to build towards the final heated thing.
No, because I don't know if I want it to be heated. If it's my dinner with Andre, it's just this conversation. I want it to be argumentative for the purpose of, like, if, say, this film were to be on screen and the people were looking at the film, most of society would be siding with the nihilistic person, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So within this scene, I need them to very much side with him, but understand the opinion of the other guy. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's the point of the argument. Not because I want escalation.
Total sidetrack. I was thinking about the fact that, what should we call it? Our generation have sort of gone towards nihilistic, and if it curves back, then it's gonna be like our grandkids are like, wow, you guys are kind of fucking downers.
Yeah, fucking, you know, that was the transition from modernism to postmodernism. Modernists were they used logic a lot. They're very optimistic, and there's a period between 1940 and 1970. It was a transition period for. Oh no, it was like 1950 to 1970. It was 1968 is when they said. It was really the transition from modernism to postmodernism, and people began to be very nihilistic. They stopped looking at empirical data over emotions and stuff like that, and that's why a lot of social stuff started happening. The war on drugs, the abortion movement. This is all postmodernist, and it's just the society's culture united way of thinking. You know what I mean? It's not like we're purposely doing this. You know what I mean? It's just this is the direction it's gone. You know what I mean? And now because people think nihilistically, this is the whole purpose of the film. You know what I mean? Is that I'm targeting those things that people. These nihilistic people who are very with the media, you know what I mean? So I'm presenting this character as if they can, because he went to college, you know what I mean? He managed to get a job out of college as if they were college students, you know what I mean? That's not really how it works, you know what I mean? And so he's very someone they can connect to, you know what I mean? But in the beginning of the film, he's already giving off this vibe that he thinks he's better than everyone. But I don't know why I did that, actually. Should I get rid of that?
We did that because it was like the philosophy professor would be a more
yeah, but that's for the old story, you know what I mean? But I'm still saying for this new story, I still like that idea within his character, but I don't know if I should get rid of it. Oh, yeah, we turned it up. Yeah, she's talking about the podcast. I don't know.
Hopefully soon I can go back to my 3-day work week. I have no choice but to just fuck around and do shit like that. Think of topics for this podcast.
How sure that you'll be able to do that?
Get a 3-day work week?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fucking sure. Because it's not like my pay changes or anything like that. It doesn't matter on the client. It's just the hours.
Oh, I thought you were meant with Teresa.
Oh, she's gonna be gone by the time, or at the end of the thing. By the time I stop, or I stop working for her, it'll be like she's gone.
Yeah.
Like in another state or something like that.
Well, okay. Last words. Kill Bill.
Kill Bill pretty good.
Yeah, Kill Bill's great. I guess this was just a mashup episode because of constraints, but I don't think it would be that bad because I'm gonna wait one extra day to upload the fucking, not the Annie Hall. Which one was after Annie Hall? Whatever movie was after Annie Hall, I'm gonna upload that podcast, and then
Into the Inferno?
Yeah, I think it's that one. And then, oh no. It's the other one. I have a stockpile, dude. We're one film behind. Makes sense? We have to do... I don't know, it might be Into the Inferno. But I have to upload... I'm gonna wait one extra day to upload the Into the Inferno one. And wait one extra day to upload the fucking extra clip. And then I'm gonna wait one extra day to upload this. It'll work all out and we're back on schedule. Alright, last words.
Ciao.
Bye-bye, we're signing off. This is Mildly Fatigued with Adam and Caleb. Bye-bye.